As we all eagerly await Silksong, which will hopefully bless us sometime soon, I found myself returning to Hollow Knight. Not just to refresh my memory of its world, but to remind myself of how it made me feel the first time I played it. Before Hornet's story takes the stage, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on what made Hallownest so unforgettable. This isn't going to be a review or a breakdown of mechanics. Hollow Knight has been dissected in countless ways already. Instead, I want to talk about something harder to measure, something that lingers with you long after you've closed the game. I want to explore its quiet beauty. To me, Hollow Knight is more than a great Metroidvania. It's a masterclass in environmental storytelling, where silence carries as much weight as music and absence speaks louder than exposition. The game doesn't just guide you through a crumbling kingdom, it makes you feel its loss, its loneliness, and its fragile sparks of hope. This video is less about what you do in Hollow Knight and more about what it makes you feel, about how a world so desolate can still be so welcoming. So before Silksong pulls us into something new, I want to wander through the old one more time and share the aspects of this game that can be described in no other way than beautiful. When I first stepped into Hallownest, I wasn't greeted by fanfare. There was no cinematic explaining the kingdom's history, no quest giver sending me off on a grand mission, just stillness. It's a strange kind of stillness, not the peaceful, comforting quiet of a calm morning, but the kind of quiet that lingers after something has been lost. Everywhere you go, Hallownest feels like a place that's already lived its life. The stones are cracked, the bridges are worn, and the walls bear the marks of those who came before. The kingdom isn't dying, it's already dead, and we're just wandering through the remains. From the moment you step into the forgotten Crossroads, the name says it all: forgotten. The buildings still stand, but they're empty shells. You'll see signs of what used to be: street lamps, benches, doorways leading to rooms that serve no purpose now. It's as if the world hasn't realized it's abandoned yet. It's still here, still holding itself together, but hollow inside. The architecture isn't just decoration, it's a kind of language. Great arches and cathedral-like halls hint at a kingdom that was once proud, built to impress. Even in ruins, there's a certain beauty, the beauty of something that was made with care, even if it's been swallowed by time. And what makes it powerful is that the game doesn't tell you what happened. There's no voiceover filling in the blanks, no cutscene showing the downfall. You're left with scraps, a tattered banner here, a collapsed bridge there, the faint outlines of a civilization that once thrived. That absence becomes part of the story. Hollow Knight is a quiet game, not in the sense that nothing happens. There are fights, boss battles, and moments of danger, but between them, there's an emptiness in the soundscape that's almost confrontational. You can hear your own footsteps, soft taps against stone, the occasional squeak of a bug in the distance. Sometimes the silence is so heavy that even a single ambient noise, a drop of water echoing through a cavern, feels loud. It's a deliberate choice. In most games, silence is a gap to be filled with constant music or sound effects. Here, it's part of the rhythm. The quiet stretches between musical pieces make the world feel more desolate, but also more intimate. It's as if Hallownest is letting you hear its breathing, slow, shallow, and almost gone. Because so much of Hollow Knight is silent, the moments when music does appear feel profound. The first time I entered Greenpath, the shift hit me instantly. Gentle strings, a soft melody that seemed to wrap the lush greenery in a kind of warmth. After the muted tones of the Crossroads, it felt like stepping into sunlight after a storm. Then there's the City of Tears. The music there is not triumphant or adventurous, it's mournful, reflective, a soft piano under the constant patter of rain. That rain never stops. It's as if the city itself is weeping, and the melody feels like a symbol for something beautiful that was lost long ago. The music in Hollow Knight isn't background noise, it's an event. It arrives rarely, stays only as long as it's needed, and leaves you with a feeling that lingers long after it fades. There's something rare in how Hollow Knight trusts the player with silence. It doesn't rush to fill every moment, and it doesn't demand that you move quickly. You can stand in a room for minutes and nothing will happen. No enemies will spawn, no invisible timer will push you forward, and in those pauses, the world has room to breathe. You have room to breathe. I didn't realize how rare that was until I experienced it. Most games push you onward constantly, afraid that you'll get bored. Hollow Knight does the opposite. It lets you linger, and in doing so, it gave me the space to feel something deeper. Not just curiosity about what's ahead, but grief for what's already gone. Hollow Knight's world is more than just a setting, it's a memorial. It's a place where silence speaks louder than words, where ruins tell stories more vividly than any exposition could, and where music feels like a rare light breaking through the clouds. And in that quiet, in that emptiness, I found something beautiful. From the opening moments of Hollow Knight, it's clear. This is not a world built to keep you company. There's no loyal party trailing behind you, no constant chatter to fill the space, no narrator explaining every beat. Instead, there is you, a small, silent figure moving through a kingdom that seems to have forgotten the sound of its own voice. The absence of companionship shapes every step of the journey. Many games cushion the player with friendly banter, clear objectives, and the reassurance of allies. Hollow Knight removes those supports entirely, trusting you to find your own way through its labyrinth of caverns and ruins. Friendly NPCs are rare, and when you do encounter them, they rarely speak plainly. The mapmaker hums softly behind a desk before selling you the means to chart the world. A lone elder sits in the village square, speaking in hints and half-truths. Even the most welcoming figures eventually fade into absence, moving on or disappearing without explanation. There's no dependable anchor, no constant companion. Yet, this solitude is not hostile. The silence here is not the suffocating void of abandonment, it's respectful. The stillness invites you to observe, to notice the dripping of unseen water, the creak of wood deep underground, the soft gusts of air in tunnels that should have no wind. The lack of noise becomes part of the atmosphere, a deliberate choice that deepens the sense of place. This approach turns the journey into something reflective. Without the noise of constant dialogue, your focus shifts to the subtler forms of storytelling. The way a crumbling arch hints at forgotten memories, the way the world seems to breathe around you. The emptiness forces you to slow down, not because the game demands it, but because the environment encourages you to. The rare moments of connection stand out all the more for their scarcity. Meeting Quirrell in a quiet resting spot, finding the stag stations and hearing the deep rumble of the last stag's voice, or sharing a silent bench with a friendly figure. These interactions carry a weight they wouldn't have in a more crowded, noisy game. They feel like finding a flicker of light in an endless expanse of darkness. In Hallownest, connection is not defined by frequency, but by impact. Every meeting is fleeting, every farewell is inevitable, but rather than leaving the player feeling abandoned, the game's structure suggests that this is the nature of the world, that isolation is not an obstacle to overcome, but an essential part of the journey. In this way, Hollow Knight uses solitude as a mirror. It doesn't fill the silence for you, it lets you inhabit it, and in that space, the environment itself becomes your closest companion. In most games, you're told who you are even before you've taken your first step. You're given a name, a personality, a backstory, a set of pre-written traits that you carry into the world. Hollow Knight takes the opposite approach. You are the knight, but that title is as much description as you'll ever get. You simply exist. The knight is not just silent, they're empty by design. They have no facial expressions, no visible emotion, no declarations of morality or purpose. They are, in the lore, a vessel, a being intended to contain something, not to express themselves. This absence is not a flaw in storytelling, it is the story. It's what makes them a perfect mirror for the player. Because the knight does not tell you how to feel, you begin to project your own emotions onto them. If the journey feels lonely, it's because you're alone. If a moment feels triumphant, it's because you brought meaning into it, not because the game told you to celebrate. That sense of ownership over the emotional weight of the journey is subtle but incredibly powerful. The game never claims the knight's victories or failures, they are entirely yours. This emptiness also changes how you interpret the world around you. Every cryptic conversation, every faded mural, every decaying monument becomes something you piece together through your own curiosity. Without the knight offering explanations, the burden of interpretation falls completely on you, and because of that, the story feels personal, even though it's never directly about you. The knight's lack of identity also mirrors the larger state of Hallownest itself. Just as the kingdom is defined by what it's lost, its status, its people, its purpose, the knight is defined by absence. They are a figure without a past, moving through a world without a future. Both carry an unspoken question. What fills the void left behind? This design choice also creates a strange intimacy with the world. In many games, a protagonist paired with a strong personality can sometimes distance the player from the setting because the world is filtered through their perspective. Here, there is no such filter. You see Hallownest directly, without commentary, and its beauty, sorrow, and strangeness reach you without distortion. It's a minimalist approach to narrative, but one that feels richer the more you think about it. The night is not there to be known, they're there to be inhabited, and in stepping into that emptiness, you may find that the game is quietly asking you to consider your own silences, your own unknowns, and the ways you define yourself in the absence of clear answers. If Hollow Knight were only shadows, rot, and silence, it would still be striking, but it would risk becoming oppressive. What makes its atmosphere so moving is the way darkness is severed by moments of light. Not grand, sweeping beams that banish the gloom, but flickers, ones that are often easy to miss if you're not looking for them. These moments don't arrive as rewards for completing major quests. They're not announced at all. They simply exist, waiting to be stumbled upon, and they carry a quiet power because they ask nothing from you but your attention. The City of Tears is perhaps the most iconic example. The constant rain falling from the ceilings of the cavern far above doesn't cleanse the kingdom's sorrow, it seems to mourn alongside it. You pause here without meaning to. It's not joy you feel exactly, more a bittersweet peace. The comfort of knowing the world is allowed to grieve. The city does not try to move on from its loss, it wears it openly, and in doing so becomes strangely beautiful. In a world where most things you encounter are hostile or dying, the stag is an outlier. His deep, resonant voice carries not only strength but an age-old warmth. Every time you summon him, there's a subtle reassurance in his arrival. The heavy thud of his landing, the brief pause before he bows his head in greeting. Over time, you hear the quiet joy in his tone as more stations are reconnected. There's pride there, but also gratitude, a recognition that you're helping him reclaim a purpose he thought was long lost. He is proof that even in the ruins, bonds can survive, and that rebuilding something broken is worth the effort. Every now and then, you hear a soft sound drifting through a corridor, a simple, wordless hum. It's almost disarming. You follow it, not with your weapon drawn, but with curiosity. Finding the source is like finding a bubble of peace trapped inside the kingdom's decay. These NPCs don't share sweeping stories or vital lore, they're just there. Cooking, tinkering, working. Their presence is a reminder that life does not cease entirely just because the world around it crumbles. And when you leave them behind, the silence feels heavier because you realize how rare their kind of gentle existence truly is. The Queen's gardens glow softly under a haze of drifting pollen, their winding paths overrun with greenery. It's not untouched wilderness. The remnants of stone pathways and ornate structures make it clear that this was once cultivated. But now, nature has taken over, reshaping the space into something new. This is a different kind of beauty than the City of Tears, not one born of mourning, but of transformation. The gardens show that loss doesn't always end in lifelessness. Sometimes it makes space for something else to grow. In Hallownest, that's rare enough to feel special. Part of what makes these glimpses of beauty so vital is the contrast. In a game where silence is the norm, the hum of a friendly stranger becomes almost musical. In a palette of grays and shadows, the green of the Queen's gardens feels impossibly vivid. Because the world is so often hostile or empty, you're conditioned to pay attention when it isn't. These aren't moments you can skip past without consequence because you feel their weight. In some ways, Hallownest teaches you to savor beauty the way one might savor a rare flower in a barren wasteland, not as an escape from reality, but as part of it. What makes these moments even more important is their impermanence. The stag's roots will all reconnect, but his journey is finite. Friendly NPCs can disappear without warning. Even the loveliest places hold the memory of endings. Hope in Hollow Knight is never absolute. It's a candle in a windy corridor, but that's exactly what makes it precious. You don't find comfort in believing it will burn forever. You find comfort in its presence now, knowing how easily it could be extinguished. These moments are the fragments of light that define the Hollow, not by erasing its emptiness, but by shining within it. When I think back on Hollow Knight, I don't picture a single location or boss fight. What comes to mind is the atmosphere, that quiet tension in the air, the way the world felt like it was holding its breath. Hallownest is a place defined as much by what's gone as by what remains. The ruined architecture, the scattered remnants of a civilization, the whispers of stories left untold, they all exist in that space between presence and absence. And in exploring it, you start to realize that emptiness isn't just a backdrop, it's part of the story. It shapes your experience as much as the enemies you fight or the paths you take. The solitude of the journey becomes its own form of dialogue. Without a party at your side or a constant stream of exposition, you're left to fill in the emotional space yourself. You notice details you might have otherwise ignored. You begin to feel like a participant in the silence, not just an observer passing through it. And yet, it's not all shadow. Hollow Knight teaches you to value the small moments of connection. These moments hit with such force because they're surrounded by so much quiet and loss. They remind you that even in the most desolate places, there can still be traces of life, comfort, and beauty. As we wait for Silksong to arrive, I realize I'm not just excited to see what's next mechanically or narratively, I'm eager to see if it can evoke that same delicate balance of emptiness and hope. Or maybe it will capture an entirely different range of emotions and create its own unique atmosphere that I can get lost in. Because in the end, Hollow Knight isn't simply a game about a hollow world. It's a reminder that even in the quietest places, beauty can endure. And sometimes you have to wander through silence to truly hear it. That brings me to the end of the video. Thank you to everyone who checked out my content, and I hope you all gained something from it. As always, if you have any thoughts or feelings surrounding Hollow Knight or any other game, please share it down below, as I love reading what you all think. If you enjoyed and want to see similar content on a variety of topics and games, please consider liking and subscribing, as I have a lot planned. With that, thank you all for watching, and until next time.